BP executives are up on Capitol Hill right now. They're answering questions from very angry U.S. lawmakers about the unfolding oil spill disaster in the Gulf of Mexico. Our congressional correspondent Brianna Keeler is joining us now with details. Brianna, you had a chance to speak exclusively with one of those BP executives. What did you learn?
That's right. This is the executive vice president. You just saw a picture of him there, Dave Nagel, who is the EVP of BP America. He was before the House Energy and Commerce Committee, along with executives from Halliburton and Transocean. And we caught up with him right afterwards. This was a closed hearing, Wolf, so we didn't get to sit in and see exactly the Q&A between lawmakers and these execs. But Democrats and Republicans said that they were very unhappy with what they heard, that they didn't hear enough. They didn't get definitive enough answers. And that was what was so interesting, was that included Joe Barton, the top Republican on the committee, who is for offshore oil drilling. He had some very scathing criticism, and that is what I asked Nagel about. The top Republican on the committee said that you guys seemed like deer in the headlights and that you didn't have concrete enough answers. What do you think about that?
We're doing everything we can to respond to this incident, and that's our complete focus right now, to stop the leak at the sea, to disperse the oil as best we can, and protect the beaches and mitigate the impact. And that's what we're doing.
Will the containment dome be in place soon?
They're in the process of shipping that out, and we should have it starting to get on location over the weekend.
And will BP pick up the full cost of the cleanup?
We said that we will pay all legitimate claims. Thank you very much.
What does legitimate mean? And the CEO, listen to that, legitimate. What does that mean? And we don't really have a definitive answer. That's also the line that we're hearing from the CEO of BP, who is on the Hill as well, Wolf. So we're trying to get to the bottom of that. But the chairman, the Democratic chairman of this committee, Ed Markey of Massachusetts, he said, because again, we couldn't hear the Q&A that was going on behind these closed doors, he said that it was clear that BP and these other execs never anticipated that this catastrophic where this catastrophic situation could happen, and that they're now trying to invent a solution on the fly to an unprecedented problem. And he said that they don't have guarantees that this can be fixed. We are expecting that some members of Congress will be going to the region at the end of the week, Wolf, and there's going to be at least one hearing next week.
I'm glad you started to press him on the definition of the word legitimate, Brianna. I suspect that's going to be a big issue in the weeks and months to come. Brianna Keeler up on the Hill for us. Thank you. That fringe of the fringe, I should say, of the massive 60-mile wide oil slick in the Gulf of Mexico right now is lapping at Louisiana's Barrier Islands. And the company responsible, BP, for the spill is struggling to contain it. All of this amidst some new questions about whether one government agency was asleep at the switch before this disaster occurred. Brian Todd is monitoring all of these developments in New Orleans. He's joining us now live. Brian, what are you learning?
Wolf, that government agency is the Minerals Management Service, part of the Department of the Interior. It is now under tighter scrutiny over its relationship with the oil industry.
New concerns about the government agency that oversees the oil business. The Minerals Management Service understated the amount of previous oil spills in the Gulf and the potential impact from a spill. That's according to a warning sent late last year from another government agency, NOAA. It says when the Obama team asked for a risk assessment, MMS used outdated information on the frequency of oil spills and failed to include more recent information from many sources, including a big increase in spills from Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. The head of one watchdog group says this.
What you're seeing here is one of the agencies really doing their job and raising concerns and saying, you know, as we're looking at this offshore drilling, shouldn't you be a little more concerned about the implications here if something went wrong? And MMS essentially ignoring them.
The document was posted by a website for government environmental officials called PEER. We asked MMS for a response. A spokeswoman told us these were not official comments from NOAA and were only meant to start a dialogue. But MMS won't say whether they changed their plan after the criticism.
We've really had problems with MMS for over a decade, recognizing that this is an agency that really thinks of the oil and gas industry as their partner or their client rather than an industry that they should be regulating.
Despite several calls and emails from us, MMS did not respond to that. Records also show that before this accident, BP was confident it could handle this kind of spill. In one document, the company said it has the capability to respond to a worst-case discharge, which it estimated then at 300,000 gallons a day. This well is leaking less than that amount. BP is struggling to contain it and has been criticized by the federal government. I asked a BP spokeswoman if they'd overestimated their ability to respond.
What you're seeing from a response capability, this is huge. This is not just BP. There are federal agencies, state agencies that are here with us. I think it speaks that that we are able to manage to get resources so quickly in these areas and really start a very proactive response effort.
Robert Thomas is a professor who teaches journalism students how to cover the oil industry.
Has BP done a good enough job in conveying to the public how difficult it is to clean up this spill?
An awful lot of people feel like they're doing nothing. But to me, you know, it's one of those priority things. I want them down there at 5,000 feet. I want them to stop that flow.
And BP officials tell us that they're doing everything they can 24/7 to do just that. Their latest effort, that dome that they're building to clamp onto the leaking wellhead at the bottom of the seafloor and funnel the oil to the waiting tanker ships. BP officials now say they hope to have that in place by this weekend. Wolf?
What about this notion that the oil is now lapping onto these islands not far from where you are right now? Explain what that means.
Those are the Chandeleur Islands, Wolf, a barrier island chain that is actually part of a wildlife refuge. That's what has people concerned here. A lot of birds and other wildlife there, and it is lapping ashore there now.